All right, y'all. So in the next 30 minutes, we're going to underwrite 2 to 3 live deals on the MLS and build an off-market list and campaign. One that you can easily do once the kids go to bed. Probably not this week, right? But if you're a married, busy parent with 0 to 3 rentals or flips, and you want to grow your portfolio at a steady pace of 1 to 4 units a year, and you want to do that without cold calling, you want to do that without hiring a VA team, this is for you. I'm Jay Helms. I'm founder of W2 Capitalists and BRRRRs for Busy Parents. And over the last few years, we've helped hundreds of busy parents add 1 to 4 units to their portfolio with this exact off-market system. There's no cold calling, no VAs. You could do it after the kids go to bed. Probably not this week. There's probably a lot of Santa Claus prep. Anyway, it is a simple routine that we've developed around family life. It took me 3.5 years and tens of thousands of dollars to put all these pieces together. And my goal today is to save you that pain. And so we're going to underwrite these 3 deals. First thing we're going to do is underwrite these 3 deals in Stillwater. We're going to focus on the Stillwater, Oklahoma market. Found these 3 deals. We're going to look at, see if they make sense from an underwriting standpoint, see if they cash flow. And if not, we're going to, regardless, we're gonna bring up some big data analytics and see what kind of off-market opportunities are available. So let's get to the market brief. I want to show y'all just some of the stats that I like to look at when I'm working with somebody in this market or any market really. And let me bring that up and we'll get right into it. Let's see, make sure. Hopefully y'all can see this. I'll go back and check it here in just a minute. But this is Stillwater, Oklahoma, population of about 48,000. This was back in the 2020 census. Now, I found a data point that suggests it's grown even more than that pretty rapidly here in 2024 is up to 50,000. The important thing here is there is positive population growth. It's one of the things that we always look at when entertaining new markets or helping new members find off-market deals in their market is the population growing. If there's any sign of negative growth, we want to look at that. Why is that case? Maybe there was some annexing going on or whatnot. But turn the alarm off. But we want to see positive growth. And the good thing is, since 2010, there's been a plus 6% population growth. The other thing we like to look at is days on market, because as part of your overall campaign, as you're focusing on off market, there are things that are going to sit on the market for a while. And if they're double, triple the average days on market, hopefully that seller is starting to realize that, maybe they got a little too aggressive on their pricing. So days on market here for Stillwater is about 36 days. This is interesting. I don't know, other than looking at this, I don't know anything about Stillwater, but the nearest major metropolitan area, Oklahoma City, there's 2, Oklahoma City and Tulsa, both about 60 miles from Stillwater. And Stillwater is a college town anchored by Oklahoma State University, OSU. And then when I was doing the research here, I kept typing in OSU and Ohio State University kept coming up. So anyway, there is a strong demand for student and workforce housing here. So let's look at a couple other things just to note. The median home value, $255,000. Median gross rent, $1,350 for a 3-bed. That was one data source. We're going to look at another one here in just a minute just to make sure that's true. I haven't looked at the second data source yet, so we're going to underwrite this in real time to see if that holds. And here's why we like it as a BRRRR, as we're looking at more of these markets like this in these live deal analysis that I'm doing every week, is that 37% of the homes are owner occupied, meaning 63% are not, right? So a high percentage of renters and potential tired landlords, because, and we're going to see if this data turns true here in just a minute when we bring up PropStream, there's lots of 1960s and 2000 single family homes built under 250,000 in the 74075 zip code. It's got rents that can support BRRRR numbers if you can buy at the right basis. So here's the thing about 1960 to 2000 builds. The youngest house in that is probably 24, 25 years old. The other end of that spectrum, it's an older home, right? You're targeting tired landlords. It's an older home. There's probably some deferred maintenance in there, especially if it was rented to college students. I remember being a college student wasn't the easiest on the apartment that we had. So, yeah, there's probably some deferred maintenance, meaning you can probably get it for a little bit of a discount. So let's go back here and just start underwriting. So we're going to look at, I'm going to use Deal Check to underwrite these properties. I have not, other than putting the address here in Zillow and bring it up, I have not looked at any of these. So let's start here with 1012 West Choctaw Lane. First thing I want to look at the pictures just to see how it's finished. It looks like it's recently done. I wonder if the boat conveys. See it there in the driveway. Yeah, this looks like it's been freshly done. Okay, I'm assuming that is a in-ground shelter from tornadoes, which is interesting. Let's keep looking. Nice sized backyard. Nice kitchen, good floors. I don't know what kind of flooring that is. It looks like hardwood, but something tells me that it's not, because it is very shiny. Nice kitchen. I mean, this could be move-in ready, right, for a good tenant. Nice bathroom. Missing a shower rod, no big deal. Nice bedroom. Assuming it's a bedroom. Carpet looks clean. And then this must be the master. That bathroom does have a shower rod. Takes that flooring through that. I wonder what that is. Nice walk-in closet for the master. Utility room. Okay, let's go back to the listing. Look at a couple different things here. New roof being installed. Very important. That's awesome. Only on Zillow for a couple of days. 3-bedroom, 2-bath. Fully fenced in backyard. This one's hot off the press, right? So 1,200 square feet. Central heat and air. Year built 2005. That's probably why the new roof is getting put on. It's probably about 20, 30 years old at the end of its life, which is huge, right? As a rental, that's a CapEx that you would probably have to incur over the next couple of years. When seeing that storm shelter makes me wonder, what kind of insurance do you need to carry? Annual tax amount $22.54. That seems high. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if there's other information that backs that up. Sold in 2023, so just a couple of years ago, for $195. That's kind of a quick turnaround. Currently listed for $225. Okay. All right, so let's take this and let's throw it into Deal Check. And I'm simply going to grab the address here. And I'm going to add property. We're going to import the property data. This is one thing I love about Deal Check, is how quick and easy we can do these. You saw the address pop up there. We're going to search. We're not going to set it as my home address. We're going to verify a couple of things. You heard me kind of rattle off a couple of stats there. I want to make sure it imported correctly, at least to what the listings say. 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,284 square feet, built in 2005. Garage. I don't remember seeing a garage. Was there a garage? Yeah. And it's got a little shed. Okay. Lot size, Deal Check's estimate, Zillow and estimate is way above where it's listed. I don't think that's going to be accurate, so we're going to go with the realtor one. This is just import data. We're going to change that here in just a minute. I like that it brings the land value in, because we can do some long-term depreciation. Tax amount Property insurance. Okay. We'll go with that for now. And then we've got all the listings that we just saw in there. And if you're not familiar with Deal Check, this shows you who the listing agent is and their phone number and all that stuff. So we're going to save and customize. We're going to leave the purchase price as is as we go through this exercise. We're going to mess with that just a little bit. I want to make sure we're looking at this as a rental with a new roof going on, and assuming the HVAC checks out. It being built in 2005, I'd want to know the age of that. Let's see if they have it in their listing. Recently updated, moving ready. So 2 things I would want to check out on this, if it were me and I were buying it as a rental, is what's the age of the HVAC system and what's the age of the hot water heater. Those 2 things are, CapEx that you're probably going to have to do something with here in the next little bit if they haven't been addressed yet. And with those 2, my personal opinion is you let them run until they die. All right. So let's go through this worksheet real quick. Interest rate, we're going to say we got a pretty good rate and this is DSCR, so 7.25%, amortized over 30 years, down payment of 25%, purchase cost 3%, rehab cost. There's not a whole lot going on here. If you've seen some of the previous videos, I like to just put in $1,000 per door, just in case something comes up, right? You're not totally off guard. Rental income. We're going to view recent rental comps. It pulls up nothing. Okay. Let's go over to Rentometer. Paste in our address. I don't want to gift 20% off. I like the free stuff. 3-bedroom, 1.5 bath. It is a house. Check rents. Okay. So a little bit higher than what the first data source that we used to get that 1350. So that's good. 1650, 1375 is the 20. I'm gonna go conservatively at 1500, even though the average was 1625. So we're gonna go back to here, gross rent 1500. Now, I'm putting this in here just as the napkin test to see if we can get close to making this work for us. What I would want to do if I don't know about this market, I'm going to call some property managers. I'm going to look further on Zillow and see what else is available with this kind of same finishes, square footage, bedroom, bath size, and compare what those are renting for. Call a local property manager and say, hey, I'm interested in this house. It's 3-bedroom, 2-bath that they may have listed on their website. How much is the rent and that sort of thing, just to kind of get a good idea. But as I'm learning the market, right? Operating expenses, I typically leave at 40% just because we are self-managing, and I do take out, usually I leave it at 50%. If we have a property manager, I leave it at 40 with us self-managing. Leave that there. Long-term projections, we're going to leave alone. Depreciation period, 27.5. We're not going to worry about this just for the sake of this exercise. There's something else I was going to look at. Vacancy. The only long-term projection I'm going to look at here is expense increase. Probably not going to have a whole lot because this looks pretty new, except for the HVAC and the water heater. We want to check what those look like. But this being, built within the last 20 years, and then the roof's getting replaced, you're probably going to be solid on CapEx. So with that being said, we can look at our analysis, and right off the bat, we know this is not going to cash flow because we have this red X, right? Let me change this. I got to figure out how to make these my default. Okay, it's there. Cash flow of at least $200 per unit per month. Cash on cash return is 8%. And then the debt coverage ratio I have at 1.25. That's because I know at that ratio I can get a DSCR loan usually without any problem. So those are the criteria I use. Obviously, there's a lot more different rules and things in here that a lot of people use, and DealCheck has made this extremely easy to just click the button, and then you saw as you're underwriting, you get the numbers there, or the result just as you're going through it. So these two that are in red, unfortunately, are on the wrong side of the coin that we're focused on. So we're gonna play around with this just a little bit to see if we can get it to cash flow. Let me look at a couple things here real quick. See a couple of you on Facebook watching. If you got any questions or comments, please please let me know what those may be, or just say hello. Just say hello in the comment section. All right, this one's pretty ugly. One of the things I do love, probably what attracted me to DealCheck years ago, is their offer calculator, because we can come in here and immediately see, based on our criteria, and some of you might be laughing because you just saw that, is what we could or should, our target price should be based on these criteria below. Based on those criteria below and the things that we entered as far as rent and our interest and everything else in the property analysis, in the purchase worksheet section, it automatically calculates what our target offer should be to be able to hit that. Now, I'm going to save this just to show you how the check mark turns green in the corner. And then we're going to go back to property analysis to see just how, okay, $213 a month. We're at 8.4%. Cash needed was $30,000. Now, the likelihood of the seller taking 105 is probably something done, right? Because as we saw earlier, they paid, assumingly, they paid $195. They still have a mortgage on it, so I doubt they're that motivated to. I don't know, right? We can find that out. Shoot your shot, right? But let's see if there's something else that we can look at. On this one, I think it just doesn't work, right? And sometimes they just don't work. Operating expenses are pretty low. Appreciation, don't really focus on that. There's really not a whole lot of CapEx. Saving, I don't think this one's gonna work, right? Let me look here. Let's see what comps maybe going for. Estimated ARV based on average price per square foot is $197. And at that point, that might be break even for the seller, which, that's on them. Not necessarily worried about that. We want to make sure these numbers work for us, and this one just clearly doesn't. So let's do the next one. Let's look at 1502 North Grandview Street. Honey, stop the car. Love it. Great house on a great lot. 53 days on Zillow. If you remember back with our market brief, the average was 36, so maybe there's some wiggle room there. Let's scroll down. Just look at about the same size square footage. 1220. It is on a cul-de-sac, which is renters who have young kids. They like that versus being on a busy street. You're built 2001. So now, I'm automatically going to want to know when's the roof been replaced. The age of the HVAC system, hot water heater. Those three things could be huge CapEx expenses. All right, let's look down here and see. Again, bought in 23 or sold in 23 for 185. They're now asking 211, which essentially after realtor commissions, these folks are going to pretty much break even. And I say that I don't, that's just a train of thought. It has no bearing on where I make my offers on properties. It's just something that I like to think about. Let's take a look at the pictures here. Sorry about hitting the mic. Pretty nice carpet. It's nicely done. You can tell the cabinets are a little older. So the appliances, microwaves in the, I like the space saving there. The microwave is in the pantry. Assuming there's an electrical outlet there too, and it's just not being stored. Big utility room. Big utility room. That's awesome. Office / bedroom. Another, looks like they just professionally staged this. Big backyard. Got a little bit of a slope on it. And you know, it's one thing about the single family is who's taking care of the lawn. Is it you or the residents there at your property? We always, excuse me, unless it's a multi situation, single family, it is on the resident to do it. Now, you know, you can get into some interesting conversations about whether the yard looks good. Good is a relative term on who's looking at it, right? So there's usually a clear expectation. And if you just want to avoid, there usually needs to be a clear expectation setting at the very beginning. And if you want to avoid all of that, just bake in lawn care into your rent price as well. Also need to be thinking about utilities. One thing I haven't touched on, and I want to make sure that we do that, is depending on where your market, what your market does, is does the rental price include utilities? Some markets will, some markets won't. You just kind of have to know. And it's crazy how it varies from market to market. This looks like an HOA neighborhood, but it says there's no HOA fee. That's just one thing I would want to get to know or do a little bit more due diligence on. Perfect for quiet living. Is this in a wonder if this is in a over 65 community. I think it has to say that. And it's just important, if it's in an HOA, it's important to know the rules on rentals. Does it have to be long term? Can you do short term? Can it be mid term? A lot of HOAs, now this being built, you know, over 20 years ago, I think it was, right? It's probably not in there for short term, long term rentals. But just as you're buying properties, you need to know what is in the HOA documents. Okay, so let's take a look at what this looks like, and we'll do a quick underwriting on that one. Then we'll get to the third one, and then we'll look at off-market potential properties. All right, import data. No, I don't want to save it as my house built in 2001, way before B&B was cool. Jill check Zestimate 218. Where do they have it listed? 211. It's an interesting number, 211, 222. Anyway, whatever works. Rentcast estimate 1470. Now that's lower than what we found on the other one here, 1625. Let's just change the address to see if all right. Maybe this is a little bit different part of town. It is a little lower. Also, you know, just thinking about this as perfect for quiet living. Thinking about student housing. Is there rule, if there was an HOA, is there rules in there that says you can't rent to students? I don't know. I think that's probably some discrimination thing, but just thinking ahead as you're a landlord and you're in a neighborhood that's considered quiet, if you rent to a bunch of students, is it going to be a headache? Again, there's probably some equal opportunity housing law there that you can't discriminate, but just thinking that out loud. I don't like student housing personally. We stay away from it. So anytime I'm talking about these, I'm talking about long-term rental, somebody who's going to be there on average, 3 years. All right, so we're going to save and customize. Right off the bat, we see the red X. We're not hitting cash flow. We know that it's going to be very similar to the other one. Right. I'm going to change the interest rate. Let's just say we went and did a traditional financing, 30-year fixed, where it's not a DSCR. So we were able to get it for 6.25. The loan's going to be in our personal name. It's going to be a 30-year fixed. Our lender is still going to require 25% down typically because it is an investment property. Let's just see how much closer we can get. So I'm going to go again with $1,500 for rent. I know it's just $30 more. Rehab cost, again, $1,000. I didn't see a whole lot wrong with this, but we don't necessarily know until we get in there. I'd just like to put that in there as a buffer. If you don't need it, great, right? Expense increase. I didn't see any notation that the roof had been recently replaced. Let's just zoom in. I don't want to delete it. I want to look at it. It looks in fairly good condition. No warping or at least majority of the shingles are there. Let's I would want to ask, hey, when's the last time the roof replaced? Do you have your permit? Do you have your invoice that when the roofer was paid? They probably don't, because unless they did in the last couple of years, which if they did, it was probably being part of the listing. And I didn't see that. Anywhere. Okay. I would want to know if they've got that information. Rental income 15, vacancy rate 10%. It's kind of high. If you want to be a little bit more aggressive, you can say 7%. The reason why I say that's a little high is if you, on average, a resident stays in a single family home for 3 years, at 10%, that's a year. That's 36 days a year, right? Where the property's not being occupied. So over 3 years, that's 90 something, 100 plus days. That's a good buffer. It's a really good buffer for, let's say in 3 years, your tenant moves out. Well, now as long as you've baked in and you've put that money aside, you've got, 3 months worth of vacancy stored up that you can pay the mortgage. Is it really going to need that? Probably not. Probably not. So I'm going to drop it down to 7. Other income, none. Appreciation. Expense increase. This is so much percentage over year. I would want to know, as far as the rehab cost up front, do we need to put a new roof on it? What's the status of the HVAC? What's the status of the I almost said toilet, not the toilet, the hot water heater. I'm pointing to mine to help my brain remember what I was talking about. And so I would want to know what the ages of those are, because I'm going to bake that in. If it's, water heater, you're probably going to get 8 years out of it. A roof, 20, maybe 30. And then HVAC, man, I don't know. Here in Florida, we use the heck out of it. So we're replacing them quite frequently, a lot more frequently than I want to. And so I want to know the age of all those and include it in the rehab cost up front, just so you know. All right, so we're going to get back to the property analysis. We know this is going to be ugly. It's going to be negative just compared to the last one we did. Not a whole lot has changed. Again, negative on the cash flow, negative on cash return. we're going to go down to offer calculator, and we're going to see that probably, I was going to say around 120. So again, this is just not going to work as a long-term rental unless you get super creative. These guys are really in a pinch and they want to close pretty quickly. The fact that it's been on the market for over 50 days tells me none of that's true. It does appear to be empty. It appears to be staged. And so yeah, that's another one that does not cash flow. And then the third one, I'm going to call this the blue house. It does say pending. Actually, I'm not going to do it since it says pending. So we'll just take a look at this real quick. We'll know pretty close that unless we're getting close to probably $1,800 a month, this one wouldn't cash flow either, just based on the purchase price. Built in 94, 38 days on Zillow, so it's under contract. I like the blue. Is that a blue chimney top? Man. It's very nice. Big solid front door. That's nice. And it looks like an automated lock, so even better. Even better for a rental. Butcher block countertop. They've done this nice. This is good. Gas oven, stove. All right, I said I wouldn't do it, but I got intrigued by the picture. So this looks like a nice property. We're not going to underwrite it just because it's pending. And I just want to stay away from those. I don't know why. I just do. All right, so that's what we see examples of what's available on the MLS. I don't like buying properties on the MLS. It's not in today's market. When they make sense, they make sense. For several years, they have not made sense. And so we started migrating to off-market properties. And we start our campaigns with those using PropStream. And basically, I'm going to walk you through the filters and everything that we use to build a campaign. So this is something you can do in your own, or we're happy to help you do it as well. Is that the right zip code? Let me make sure. No, 74075. So this is PropStream. There's a link somewhere around this video where you can get a free trial. You can pull 25,000 leads, which is going to be more than enough for your target market or your target zip code. And so real quick, let's go to filters. So this is, let's close this. So this is the zip code in Stillwater, Oklahoma. Again, we're 60 miles west of Tulsa and 60 miles north, kind of northeast of Oklahoma City. College town, again, college renters, I don't know. There are over 8,000 properties. Now, this is everything imaginable, right? So think of 8,000 parcels of land. Some may have a structure on them, some may not. Of those, there are 2,205 tired landlords. Tired landlords, as PropStream defines it, is somebody who's on the property for at least 15 years. Those are the people we target with our off-market campaigns because it's a rental property. We already know. We already know that it's going to be a rental property. We also know that if they've owned it for 15 years, it's probably got some deferred maintenance. There may be some forced appreciation opportunity there with some remodeling or maybe even just a rent increase. A lot of times these mom and pops, they get somebody in there who's been there for a while and they have not raised the rent on them in 10, 15 years. And so let's look at, so I'm going to walk through the stack filters that we use to build an off-market campaign. So if you're in Stillwater and you want us to help you do this, you want to do this, you can go to findyournextbrrrr.com. There should be a link to that somewhere around this video. And it shows you, I'll walk you through and I give you the templates and I'll walk you through everything that you can do this on your own. I'm going to show you here just for a quick reference, but we'll go to tired landlords is our first filter criteria we use. We go to choose residential. We don't want any commercial properties. We don't need vacant land. From residential, we choose single family and multifamily 2 to 4. What you're going to see up here in the top right-hand corner is the number of and this number is going to adjust the more filters that we put into it, right? So right now we've got tired landlords who own 1 to 4 properties. There's 816 of those. Let's keep going, right? We don't want it in an HOA. We don't want it to have a pool. Just as a rental property, pools are, well, if you want to work with them, you can, but they're usually just a headache and a huge liability. Matter of fact, our leases specifically state that you cannot bring a pool on the property, above ground, whatnot. And huge fines if you do. So MLS, we don't want to look at anything that's on the MLS, so we're going to choose off market. And then probably the most important one is who owns it. We want to look for individual owners, not corporates, corporations, LLCs, or anything like that, or trust. We want to look for just individuals. They're just easier to get a hold of, right? And so from that, we've got 201 properties that fit that criteria, and you see them right here, right? You can see them all listed. Let me bring up one. Let's just choose one. Sorry, got distracted. Choose one that's got, here's another secret one we go after tired landlords is, they've owned it for at least 15 years. There's a good chance that they have a 0 loan balance home. So what happens is that opens up as you're building your relationship with them. I don't recommend doing it right away, but as you build your relationship with them, it opens up the opportunity to talk about owner financing, right? Very little down, very little every month. The other thing that this opens up is most landlords, especially the tired ones, have multiple properties in their portfolio. So if you were to contact them to say about 2416 North Star, and they want 30% above retail, well then it's pretty quick answer to say, hey, that's not property I can buy, but I bet you have a pain in your property. Let's talk about that one, right? Let's talk about that one. So let's look at this 2416 North Star, because the value, at least from PropStream, is a lot lower than what we saw earlier. And it's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, about the same square footage. Year built 1969. If y'all can see this, some of it's cut off over here just because the resolution that I'm using right now. It does have some pictures, so let's look at this. Notice they're not very professional pictures, right? This could be from when it was when it was bought by this landlord years ago, or it could have been a listing for an advertisement for a rental. It's pretty dark. Oh, okay. I thought that was wallpaper, and it was really bold. Okay. So let's take this address and let's throw it into deal check just to see what happens. And then I want to map these out and see where they're located in relation to one another. It says 2416 North Star. Laptop's getting really hot for some reason. 3-bedroom, 1.5 bath, built in 1969. It's on an acre lot. Okay. Realtor's estimate 178. Deal check said 136. So those are off. We want to compare. Love the low taxes. Love the low insurance. Want to verify if those are actually correct, right? Okay, this is a different school system I remember seeing than the other ones. All right, so this looks like it was sold. This also looks like a property description if it was listed on the MLS. So let's take this address and throw it into, well, let's throw it into here real quick just to see where we're on rent. 3-bedroom, 1.5. It is a house. And we'll let Rotometer, I don't know what it's doing there. Let's do it one more time. It doesn't like me doing it. All right, so let's see if we can find this on Zillow. It's supposed to be a tired landlord, so it's supposed to be owned for at least 15 years. I did notice the length of ownership is missing here, which is interesting. Let's just see. Yeah, so it sold in 2020. So here's one thing about big data analytics is it's not always accurate, right? And you kind of have to kind of worm through some of that stuff. Okay. Bought it in 2020 for $77,000. Nonetheless, let's underwrite it and see what happens. And then we're going to wrap up. So, I'm gonna take a middle of the ground. Purchase price, we're still at that for a DSCR. Rehab cost. This is where, if you take it over, a tenant is in there. I've still put the $1,000 because there's going to be some issue. It doesn't matter how great the landlord is. There's going to be some issue that the tenant's going to complain about and say that they've been complaining about it for years or forever, how long they've been there, and it just never was fixed. So I'm going to put that in there just for S&Gs. Rental income has it at $1,290. Let's see if we can get that. Let's compare it to the other one. I doubt we can get the 1,500. Vacancy rate at 10%. We're going to change that to 7. Again, operating expenses, everything else stays the same. And we already know it's not going to work because of our red X over here to the left. I think we're close. Hey, we're at least positive cash flow. We're at least positive cash on cash return, right? Offer calculator. Yeah, not as big of a difference as the other ones. But I imagine one thing I'd want to make sure here is the rent. Is that accurate? It was closer to $1,290, I think. So we'll put $1,300 in there and just see. Yeah, so drop the price quite a bit. And then we go negative on both of our primary criteria, right? So this is where, if it were an option to, let's say and I don't know this about this property, but let's say this tenant just destroyed the property inside, and the guy who owned it, he had owned it for 10, 15 years and didn't want to mess with it. Well, this is and he owns it outright. This is an opportunity to work out some seller financing and do a true BRRRR on it where you leave no money in it. Like that would have the makings of it. I don't think that's the case here, but those are the things that we try to unlock by tapping into these tired landlords. See if there's anything else here that we can look at. I think that's it. I think that's all for today. So here's what we're going to do. If you're a married, busy parent who want 1 to 4 cash flowing deals a year in Stillwater area, and you're struggling, and you've got 0 to 3 properties, and that could be flips, or that could be rentals, or it could be BRRRRs. Either way, and you're wanting to grow, right? And you're wanting help doing that. Let me know. Send me a DM. Get in touch with me. We're only working with one family in this market, as we do with all of our markets. So if you're not in Stillwater and you're interested in this kind of concept of off-market campaigns, find deals at work, find deals at BRRRR, let me know. You can do this easily by just dropping your zip code wherever you're watching this, on Facebook or YouTube. Drop your zip code in, and I'll see the comment. I'll grab it. We'll underwrite it live for you. I think that's it. So if you, yeah, that's it. I think we're gonna end with that as I stumble upon here. That was a lot quicker than I expected. That's why I feel like I'm missing something here. Let me look real quick just to make sure I'm not missing anything. Oh, yeah. Last thing I wanted to share with you real quick. Somewhere around this video, this link, findyournextbrrrr.com, is available. If you want everything that I show you today, plus the mailers, the actual template that we use, you can find that at findyournextbrrrr.com. So, and I was trying to scroll down here. These are just some testimonials we have from our current members. And then the template that we use for the actual campaigns, this is one of 4. You get all of that when you just go here, swap your email address. You'll get a video recording similar to this one, and then all the tools that you need to do your own off-market campaign. Again, with the link to PropStream that's somewhere around this video, you'll get the 25,000 leads. Shouldn't cost you anything up there. So, all right. With that being said, it's Christmas time. So Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. We'll see you in 2026.